Alright guys, the new unit Hatz is finally here. He is a light element tank unit, and I'm hoping that he is going to be a meta unit because light element, they are in desperate need of a tank unit. So let's not waste any time and let's go ahead and check out this character. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at his passive. And by the way, I did get 3 purple stars on Hatz. I was hoping to get at least 3 red stars, but 3 purple stars is actually good because you do get additional defense. So let's go ahead and read his passive. Clear Mind. It says, Hatz immediately removes status effects he is inflicted with and becomes immune to status effects for 2 seconds. Cooldown 7 seconds. He then counters to deal 700% of his defense as damage and stuns the target for 2 seconds. Each time this effect activates, Hatz recovers 35% of his HP and his defense increases by 50%. This buff cannot be removed with buff removal skills. In addition, Hatz's effect resistance is fixed at 0, and his effect hit increases or decreases by 1 for every 1 effect resistance increase or decrease. So, okay, looking at his passive right here, so he is going to remove status effects when he's inflicted with one. Like it says that he is going to remove status effects, and the cooldown is 7 seconds. And you can increase this cooldown. Actually, not increase, but you can decrease it. And he's also going to counter enemy attacks. He says that he then counters to deal 700% of his defense as damage. So that is kind of high. I'm not gonna lie, 700% of his defense. He can probably do some really good damage with that counter. So that's actually not that bad. And the fact that he can actually stun the enemy for 2 seconds, really good. And he's also going to recover his HP and defense. It says he's going to recover 35% of his HP and defense, increases by 50%, which is really good. So passive Clear Mind, looking pretty solid so far. Now for his active skill, Hatz deals 175% of his attack as damage to an enemy 7 times. Each attack jolts the enemy and decreases their defense by 20% for 20 seconds, max 7 stacks. Hold up. Decreases their defense by 20% for 20 seconds, max 7 stacks. Are you serious? So if I'm doing my math correctly, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That is 140% defense shred for 20 seconds. That is broken. That has to be the highest defense shred in a game. And the fact that it's a 20-second duration, that's insane. And then it says, in addition, Hatz increases his own defense by the amount of enemy defense decreased by 20 seconds. A defense gain limit per instance of 40% of the caster's defense. So he's basically going to increase his own defense while he's shredding the enemy's defense at the same time for 20 seconds. This has to be one of the best active skills for a tank unit so far. This is absolutely insane. 140% defense shred on a tank unit, that's broken. Now we move on to the next active skill, which is Sea of Flame. It says Hatz swings the Donghae to deal 525% of his attack as damage to enemies in range, locking them for 5 seconds. A burning Shinsu zone is created in the path of Donghae for 7 seconds. Enemies in the Shinsu zone take 350% of Hatz defense as damage every second. So we basically have 2 stats that he's scaling off over here. He's scaling off of defense and he's scaling off of attack. So when he swings his sword, that attack scales off of that damage. Okay, the damage that he deals off of the Donghae sword, that's going to scale off of his attack. And then the Shinsu zone that he creates, that's going to scale off of his defense. So he has like a split scaling right there, which is really interesting. And then when we look at his ultimate, Hatz becomes immune to status effects, ignites the Donghae to remove all debuffs and status effects from allies, and grants status effect immunity for 4 seconds. Hatz then deals 700% of his attack as damage to enemies in front of him and stuns them for 4 seconds. Hatz deals 1,750% of his defense as damage when landing attacks. That is high scaling right there. 1,750% of his defense is insane. So he's dealing some pretty good damage with his special move. and he's also stunning the enemy for 4 seconds. But the best part about his ultimate is the fact that he can pretty much cleanse his allies. The fact that he can remove all debuffs is very similar to Gusting. So I'm not gonna lie, his whole kit looks good on paper, but I will say one thing that is missing is Provoke. In order for a tank unit to be extremely useful, they have to provoke. So I just hope that provocation is included in his exclusive equipment. So I will say that his kit definitely stacked for sure, especially the defense shred, but he is missing provoke. So hopefully that is in his exclusive equipment. All right, so when we take a look at Hat's exclusive equipment, let's look at level 1. So it says Hat's defense increases by 150% while the burning Shinsu zone from Sea of Flame is active. And then for level 2, Hat's additionally decreases the enemy's defense by 5% when using 7 strike Ghostfish Will Dance Ascending Dragon. And then for level 3, Hat's recovers 300 energy whenever Clear Mind activates. And then for level 4, Clear Mind's cooldown is decreased by 3 seconds. I'm not gonna lie, his exclusive equipment is kind of insane, but I was hoping to see provocation included. But the thing is, if it's like the fact that he has so much defense included in his kit, maybe he's gonna be a unit that doesn't really need provocation. Maybe he's gonna be perfectly fine without it. But you know, as of to right now, he looks very, very good on paper. Defense shred, additional energy, cooldown. He can decrease his cooldown for his ultimate. Actually, I think that's his ultimate or passive. I think Clear Mind is his passive. And he's also like, it's just so much things going on in his kit that I feel like provocation is like an additional. So I just hope that his performance is actually good. All right, so now we're pretty much going to check out his animations and see how he works. So let's go ahead and check him out. I did watch his trailer, and his cinematic, cutscene animations or whatever looks really, really nice. His gameplay looks really dope. But let's see the damage. I really want to see how much damage he can deal, and I just want to see how well he can perform here. Okay, so wow, look at all of that defense shred, man. That is insane. And that's the Sea of Flames, his damage over time. Okay, and you guys can see that his defense is increased right here. Okay, now let's go ahead and use his ultimate. So this is his ultimate animation. I'm going to let it play because this looks really, really fire. They did a great job with his ultimate. Okay, so this is his ultimate. That was like 16, I think 16 million damage right there. But the main thing that I am really excited about for this unit is the defense shred. I feel like the defense shred is going to be really nice for units like Iwa, compressed rack. So the defense shred, I feel like that's going to be the key part of his kit, and cleanse as well. All right, guys, so the best in slot ignition weapon for Hatz is going to be the brand new ignition weapon, Sela. So this ignition weapon is going to increase his defense by 20% until the end of the battle, and for the 4-piece set effect, is going to increase his physical and magic resistance by 6% for each surviving enemy other than summoned beings. And it says the wielder recovers 20% of their max HP with Sela's red flowers every time an enemy dies. So this is obviously the best ignition weapon for Hatz. Now, I will say second best in slot set for him, the second best ignition weapon for him would be a Bergamot, because it is going to increase his lifesteal, and it's also going to restore his max HP. So it's going to give him a little bit more survivability. So Bergamot is also a decent option. And you can also go for a 2-piece Myongo, because the 2-piece set is going to give him additional defense. And you can also put it with, let's say, we can put it with the Runda set, because the Runda set 2-piece set effect is going to give additional max HP. It's going to increase his max HP by 20%. So those are like the top 3 options for Hatz, but of course the best set for him is Sela. Now, the best stats for Hatz is going to be defense, of course, because his entire kit scales off of defense, and some attack would also be good as well. Crit damage and crit rate doesn't really matter because he's not going to be a damage dealing unit, so you don't really have to worry about crit rate and crit damage. You do want to get a lot of evasion so that you can increase his overall survivability, and accuracy accuracy is going to be pretty good on him because he'll be able to, land his attacks a lot more often, which is really nice. And having a lot of swiftness is also pretty good. And you want to get a lot of magic and physical resistance. These two stats right here is what's going to pretty much increase his survivability a lot more. So getting a lot of magic resistance and physical resistance on Hatz, really, really good option. And lifesteal, also not bad. Lifesteal is going to keep him alive a little bit longer. And then effect resistance and effect hit, I mean, he has that in his kit, so it's not really that crazy. So I will say top stats: magic resistance, physical resistance, defense, attack, evasion, and swiftness. So for these two slots, you want to focus on magic resistance for the slot 4, and if for slot 5 you want to get physical resistance. All right, so now that we went over his kit, we talked about which ignition weapon you guys should put on him. Let's go ahead and talk about team comps. All right, guys, so a good team comp that you can use with Hatz is this team right here. So as you guys can see, Vivi and Compressed Rack, they are dealing a lot of damage in his team. Now, the reason why they're doing so much damage is because Hatz, he is inflicting that defense shred on the enemy. 140% defense shred, by the way, which is absolutely broken. So that allows Vivi and Compressed Rack to basically one-tap enemies, especially the fact that Vivi, she has a lot of attack speed. So you have a unit who's pretty much a machine gun, and you have Compressed Rack who just instantly one-taps enemies, which is insane. So these three together, Hatz, Compressed Rack, and Vivi, busted. And Evan, I do feel like Evan is absolutely mandatory for Hatz. Like, he is a requirement because Evan's immortality works perfectly well with Hatz. Because once Evan's immortality shield goes down, Hatz is going to pretty much activate his passive, and his passive, he's going to regain max HP. And once he does that, he's going to take a lot of damage, and then Evan is going to activate his shield again. So Evan with bomb, no, Evan with Hatz, absolutely busted. And of course, you want to have bomb, who's pretty much going to increase the damage of Compressed Rack, and he's also going to increase the attack of Hatz. But the thing is, you can also use Hayura to increase Vivi's damage. So you can pretty much replace bomb with Hayura if you don't want to use bomb. But I highly recommend bomb because he is, actually pretty good. But I do feel like when it comes to bomb and Hayura, they're both really nice in this team comp because Hayura is going to increase the team survivability because she can revive. So this pretty much just proves that Hatz can pretty much work in a lot of team comps because of that defense shred. Now, the second best team comp for Hatz is this team right here. The only difference between this team comp and the last one is I pretty much replaced Vivi with Yiwa. So Yiwa, she's actually pretty good with Hatz because Hatz is, like I said, going to shred the enemy's defense. And when you pair that up with Yiwa, she's going to deal insane damage. So this is another nice team comp that you guys can use with Hatz. Now I'm going to show you guys the gameplay of this team real quick. I'm going to put it in slow motion for y'all. And you guys are going to see how good his survivability is because I say this all the time. If a tank unit is good at surviving, that's all that matters because that's their job. And he can also deal really, really nice damage with his ultimate. You guys clearly saw that he literally one-shotted Iwa. He literally one-tapped her with his ultimate. So he is actually very, very strong when it comes to dealing damage and also surviving. So as you guys can see, Hatz and Yiwa, they were the last ones remaining on the battlefield. So that pretty much confirms that his survivability very, very strong. So how many copies do you guys need on Hatz in order for him to be pretty much usable? So I will say the minimum is 3 purple stars. And the reason why is because when I come over here to limit breaking, we come to pocket certificate. At 3 purple stars, you are going to get a 40% additional defense. That is really, really good for Hatz because his entire kit revolves around defense. So you definitely want to aim to get the 3 purple stars. And once you reach 3 purple stars, you definitely want to pretty much go for max rainbow stars so that you can pretty much increase his energy so that he can use his ultimate right off the bat. So 3 purple stars is the minimum for Hatz in order for him to be usable. All right, guys, so overall, Hatz is a very strong tank unit, And this is very, very good because light element, they were in desperate need for a light element tank unit, and Hatz pretty much fulfills his role. He survives, he shreds enemy defense, he deals good damage, he did what he had to do. So Hatz, very, very good unit. And do I recommend you guys to go for him? Yes, I definitely recommend you guys to summon for this unit. He is meta. Really, really strong tank unit for light element. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys in today's video. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate it. And I'll be catching you guys on the next one. Peace.